Next slide. You know, part of that is this workforce transition. Moving toward the Constellation program, had we had it, we still would have lost 4,500 to 5,000 workers here at KSC with the end of the shuttle program. A huge number. And we were working, we have been preparing to transition that workforce. By transitioning both the shuttle and Constellation, that number has gotten higher. And we'll talk more about that. But I think what we should point out is, you know, this isn't something that we didn't know was coming. We knew it was coming. We just have a little bigger problem to deal with. And we've been working on it. And I really want to thank everybody in the community for working with us at the Kennedy Space Center and with working with USA and Boeing and all the contractors to help figure out how to do this. We've set up job fairs. We've got one coming up here the 24th and 5th of June. Over 20 different companies coming in, as well as government agencies to help with the transition and look for jobs. You know, we've got a commitment from the administration for $40 million, joint task force chaired by Charlie Bolton and Secretary Locke to figure out how best to use that money to develop and submit to a comprehensive plan to the President on where it should be invested. We recently got a $15 million grant from Labor, Secretary Solis, and our Deputy Administrator Lori Garber announced that, and that's going to the Brevard Workforce Development Board to be used for transitioning the workforce. We've had numerous training opportunities. We've set up shops at KSC. We've got places out in town working closely with the Brevard Workforce and Economic Development to help get training for the folks that need it. And, you know, we're working very closely with USA and Boeing and our contractors to find other work where we can transition the people. Now, I'd love to keep everybody here in Brevard County. That would be the ideal situation, but more importantly, I want everybody to have a job so they can put food on the table for their families and take care of them. And if that means having to relocate, well, then that's what we're going to have to do. So all I can say is, we as a community have a responsibility to the people that work for us. And I think we're doing all the right things. We're working on it extremely hard. When we get these plans in place and the money allocated, that's going to help. But the real help comes in capturing work for this community and how we transition KSC, how we partner together, how we work with not just our contractors, but draw other work in here, not just space work, but related technologies into the area. And we have a very close relationship with Frank DeBello in Space Florida, helping to make that happen, to utilize the facilities and the resources at KSC to bring the work here to take care of our workforce. So we're going to continue along those lines, and I think we're making great progress, and I appreciate everybody's support. Next slide. As I mentioned, you know, back when the Augustine Committee was going around and gathering all their data, we kind of saw where things were going. And so we started working, even back then, from a strategic point of view at the Kennedy Space Center, trying to plan what our future is going to be. And I think we're up to like our 20th Strategic Council meeting, Center Management Retreat meeting, planning for the future. And this is kind of where we came up when we looked at what is it we want KSC to be in the future? Where do we want to be? And, you know, bottom line, our vision is that KSC is the world's preeminent launch complex for government and commercial space access, enabling the world to explore and work in space. That's where we want us to be. Okay, and we feel our mission is to safely manage, develop, integrate, and sustain space systems through partnerships that enable innovative, diverse access to space and inspire the nation's future explorers. I think there's a lot that goes into that, but if we could do that, if that's where we could be in a couple of years, I think that is a great vision and mission. And then, you know, for those that can't read in the back, I'll go ahead and read what we think our core competencies are, and then I'm going to get to some goals that we've set for ourselves. You know, we feel this is what KSC does, and I hope you agree with me and that you're part of this. Acquisition and management of launch services and commercial crew development. launch vehicle and spacecraft processing, launching, landing and recovery, operation and sustaining engineering, payload and flight science experiment processing, integration and testing, designing, develop, operating and sustaining flight and ground systems and supporting infrastructure, development, test, and demonstration of advanced flight systems and transformational technologies, developing technology to advance exploration and space systems. Those are the competencies that we think we have at the Kennedy Space Center, and we want to capitalize on that, and they feed directly into the new vision the President's given us through his budget. Next slide. So, how do we get there? Where are we now, and how do we transition to the future? And there are some goals along the left-hand side of that chart, and again, for you folks in the back, I'll just go ahead and read them, but we feel if we attain these goals, if this is what we're working towards, and we take our current state and look at how we can transition to the future, we're going to be in a great position. First goal, ensure mission success by providing government and commercial access to space. We want to launch it all at the Kennedy Space Center and at the Cape. Second goal, develop, operate, and sustain a robust launch complex for all providers. And we're going to talk a little bit how we're working towards some of these goals. Third goal, conduct research and technology development to enable mission success. And finally, provide a robust institution to enable success. Now, we've been planning, how do we do that? One of the things, you know, if you look back at the Kennedy Space Center in the past, there was Apollo, and then there was Shuttle, and you had these huge programs that paid for everything, and we were very stovepipe. And what we don't want to be in the future is tied to any one large program, all right? We want to spread the wealth a little bit so that when these programs come and go, it doesn't impact us in the community or at the Space Center so much. So we've pulled back, whereas in the past, each program paid for everything. We're trying to pull that into the institution. What is it that the institution provides to the programs? How do we provide that engineering support? How do we provide the facilities? And then charge a marginal cost to the customers for what they actually need and use to make it more affordable, for one thing, for everybody. And we've done some reorganization. We have a very strong engineering team at the Kennedy Space Center now. It's not embedded in each of the programs, but it's a single institutional engineering core that provides support to all the programs. We've pulled our, and I'll talk a little bit more about this, but our business development office, you know, it was embedded down within the bowels of our center operations directorate. We think that's really important. We pulled it up and put it on my staff so that we can draw that new business work in and develop the Kennedy Space Center, put the emphasis on it. Now, a current state there, we want to transition from just being government to government and commercial, diverse access to space out of KSC, full life cycle development supporting the systems that come. We don't want to be program specific, as I mentioned. We want to be multi-program so that we're not tied so much or dependent so much on any one program. Instead of looking at narrow, specific areas of research, we want to lead. We want to develop those areas where we have the expertise and be recognized and have more in the areas of research and technology development and be recognized for the excellence that we have at KSC. And some of this is just flow-through money, but the bottom line is dollars are jobs. And we have $3.1 billion more at KSC than we were going to have. We have to work that to our advantage. And I just wanted to, I think if you look at it like that, it has a much better view. Next slide.